Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Gina Hodgson, and I'm with Mote Marine Laboratory. I also have Ali Busse here, Mote Marine Laboratory's Assistant Vice President of Education, and Jasmin Graham, the MarSci-LACE Program Coordinator. Today, we are going to be discussing our MarSci-LACE grant and how we recruit, support, and retain underrepresented minority students in STEM, and more specifically, marine STEM. Before we begin our presentation today, we just want to start by acknowledging the land on which MarSci-LACE and Mote's facilities sit is the land of the Seminole Tribe of Florida and the Miccosukee and several other nations that were lost to colonialism. MarSci-LACE also acknowledges that the indigenous stewards of the land continue to struggle globally, and the importance of protecting and honoring the history of these people and these places. For those of you joining us outside of the Tampa Bay region, if you would like to acknowledge the indigenous owners of your land, please feel free to do so in the chat. So we wanted to start the presentation by introducing Mote Marine Laboratory. Mote is an independent nonprofit marine research laboratory. We are comprised of world-class marine scientists that believe that research and education are the keys to conservation and sustainable use of our oceans in the future. So Mote is comprised of three primary components: research, education, and a public aquarium. We were founded as a research laboratory, and we have grown to include 24 research programs throughout the laboratory. Our scientists work with colleagues around the world to form international partnerships and work on special research initiatives. We also have a large education program that delivers programming both virtually and in person. And finally, we have an on-site aquarium that sees over 330,000 visitors per year. And the primary mission of our aquarium is to translate the research of our laboratory. So you can see that at Mote, we translate our research and science to a variety of audiences through a variety of means. Mote has science education centers, aquariums, and research stations throughout the state of Florida. Our primary campus is located in Sarasota, Florida, along with our world-renowned aquaculture facility. And then we also have several locations throughout the Florida Keys, including our International Center for Coral Reef Research and Restoration. Mote is a very unique institution, and so we have a capacity to host a significant number of interns annually. You can see that we have about 200 interns that we host annually, and our college intern program is the largest of our internship programs. Through our college internship, we offer internships throughout the research laboratory, aquarium, education, and a number of other opportunities. But today we're going to be focusing on our research experience for undergraduate programs. And you can see that we have several here. We are a site for NSF REUs. And from our NSF REU program, we have developed a new Mote-specific REU program. And then the program that we're going to be talking about more specifically today, the MarSci-LACE program, is structured as an REU program. And what separates the REU programs is that these students perform more individual research in our laboratory. So as I mentioned today, we are going to focus on the MarSci-LACE internship and MarSci-LACE project. Overall, our mission for this project is to improve the experience of underrepresented minority students in research experiences. And we are going to accomplish that through the recruitment, support, and retention of these URMs in marine science internships. So a little bit more about the MarSci-LACE grant. This grant is funded through the National Science Foundation, which is a major funding partner of Mote Marine Laboratory, or funding source of Mote Marine Laboratory. However, instead of the funding coming from our usual sources, which are usually under the directorates of biology or chemistry, this funding actually comes through the Division of Human Resources Development. And so that's where a lot of educational funding through NSF is delivered. And under the funding umbrella, we are specifically funded through the LSAMP program, or the Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation. So what is a Center of Excellence and what is MarSci-LACE? So our MarSci-LACE grant is a 3-year grant that is eligible for a 3 or 5-year renewal. And we received just under $1.5 million to deliver this grant in 3 years. We are an alliance, and so we do have several partners, as many LSAMP projects are alliances. So we have 2 academic partners, the College of the Florida Keys down in Key West, and the State College of Florida, which is located right here in Sarasota. And then we also have 2 research partners as well, Perry Institute of Marine Science and the Smithsonian Marine Science Station. And these are both independent marine research institutions like Mote. So a couple of grant highlights that we want to share with you. Mote was actually the first non-academic LSAMP lead institution. So typically LSAMP alliances are led by an academic institution. So Mote was the first non-academic institution to lead an LSAMP alliance. We were the only Center of Excellence awarded in 2019. We are the first marine science focused LSAMP program. And we are building upon Mote's robust college internship program, which is why we were actually awarded this funding, because we already had an extensive college internship program. And then finally, the MarSci-LACE program includes support for about 12 to 20 local interns yearly. So we are hosting interns from State College of Florida and College of the Florida Keys. Most of those are hosted at Mote. However, recently our other IMRI partners, Perry and Smithsonian, are also hosting interns as well. So I did want to introduce the team on the grant. Our lead PI is Dr. Michael Crosby. He's the president and CEO of Mote. We also have Ali Busse, who's the Assistant Vice President of Education, who I introduced before and we'll be hearing from soon. She's the co-PI and project director on this grant. We also have Dr. Ashanti Johnson, who is a professor and a former LSAMP PI and director. And she also was awarded the 2010 Presidential Award for Excellence in Science, Mathematics, and Engineering Mentoring. From our academic partners, we have Dr. Todd Fritsch, who's the Executive VP and Provost of State College of Florida. And from College of the Florida Keys, we have Dr. Jonathan Guevara, who is the president and CEO there. We also have Jasmin Graham, who we will be hearing from soon as well. She is the program coordinator of the MarSci-LACE grant. And then myself here, I'm the student engagement manager at Mote and coordinate our internship programs. So we want to take a step back here and first start by discussing the need for this project and why we decided to apply for this grant. So when we're discussing underrepresented minority students, we are talking about these categories listed here. And collectively, underrepresented minority students include about 30% of the population of undergraduate students. But when we look specifically at STEM degrees, almost about 20% of STEM degrees are awarded to underrepresented minority students. And then looking further into that umbrella, if we look specifically at marine STEM, only about 12% of marine STEM degrees are awarded to underrepresented minority students. If we were to continue this trend, we would see that even fewer underrepresented minorities are retained in the careers of marine STEM. And so clearly there is a need to broaden participation within marine STEM. So how are we going to address this? So first, we want to understand how underrepresented minority students are interacting with independent marine research institutions. And before I go on, you can see that there are quite a few acronyms here. So I just wanted to address those first so that you're able to follow along. So you can see there is a key here on the right-hand side of the slide that URM refers to underrepresented minority students. IMRI is Independent Marine Research Institutions. And finally, those RUs I mentioned earlier is Research Experience for Undergraduates. So again, we wanted to understand how URMs are interacting with IMRIs. And so as we started looking at the data of URMs in marine science, we found that there was not much data. And so within this grant, we are working on collecting the data that has already been published what's out there, but we ourselves are also going to be collecting data to better understand the URM experience in marine STEM. And then we want to also dig a little bit deeper too and understand how LSAMS institutions are working with independent marine research institutions, or IMRIs. So we really want to understand, again, the experience of URM students in research experiences at places like Mote and other IMRIs. We also wanted to understand how mentors approach their mentorship role, and specifically how our scientists are approaching their mentorship roles. And then we also wanted to understand how institutions are recruiting, supporting, and finally tracking URM students through their programs. So when we were thinking about the different components that our research would make up, we kind of thought about it in these three categories. So the internship experience, the mentoring experience, and then the experience at the institutional level as well. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jasmin Graham, who is the MarSci-LACE program coordinator.
Thank you, Gina. So we are building this sort of model that we hope is going to be a model that's more accessible to a larger range of people. And we kind of are thinking about this in three different ways, three different support systems. So whenever a student is coming in and doing an internship experience, the three main pillars of support are guidance from a mentor. Then we have, of course, the hands-on science experience where they are actively engaged in science and feeling more part of science, increasing their knowledge of the scientific literacy, the tools of the trade. And then we also have the professional and personal support that the interns get during the program that goes beyond this hands-on science experience to more of the soft skills. How do you network? How am I going to make a strong CV? How do I write a scientific paper? All of those things that come along with the internship experience as well. So for the professional and personal intern support, we have implemented what we're calling the Intern Alliance. And the Intern Alliance is a series of meetings that happen throughout the internship. And it is designed in kind of three stages. In the very beginning, when the interns are just starting out during their internship, we are focused on preparing them to be successful during this internship. So we go through the basics of using Excel. How do we collect data? How do we keep our data organized? How are we going to analyze this data? And then we also go through literature searches. How do you find scientific literature? How do you know what's a good peer-reviewed primary literature source? And then going into how do we understand, how do we read papers? Looking at articles, how do we get the background information that we need? What are we looking for whenever we're reading? And then the kind of setup of the research project. So developing a research outline. What am I studying? What are my questions? What do we know so far in this field? And what do we need to know? And how does my project contribute to that? And then as we transition into the kind of middle of the internship, we are doing frequent check-ins, making sure that the interns are feeling good about what they're doing, that they understand, that they're communicating well with their mentors, that their situations with their lab mates and other interns are strong, all of that. We start focusing a little bit more on science communication, getting them prepared to do those final presentations at the end of the summer where they're going to be presenting their research project, helping make sure that they feel comfortable doing that. And then as we end, we're getting towards the end of the internship program, that's when we start preparing our interns for the next steps. So after they leave this internship, the idea is that they will continue on this path, and we want to make sure that they're going to be successful in that. So we have networking workshops, we have career and grad student panels, we talk about resumes and CVs, interview prep, all of those kinds of things that are going to get them ready for whatever that next step is that they're going to take after their internship or after they complete their degree program. So this is Intern Alliance is based on the entering research curriculum developed by Simmer at the University of Wisconsin. And we have shifted this and changed it slightly. We, through the MarSci-LACE program, we actually offer internships year round. So in the summer, our very first summer of summer 2020, we had weekly Alliance events. These were both virtual and in person as a result of the global pandemic that we were facing. We had to move into more of a virtual space. And then in the fall, we tried to keep that same model, but we did virtual only because what we realized was that the hybrid model, there was the people that were in person were having a different experience than those that were virtual. And so we opted to do that. Then in the fall, we also switched to making at least 3 of the events mandatory to ensure quality participation. And then in the spring, what we realized from the fall is that having the 10 intern alliance events during the fall, with everyone being a part-time schedule, balancing classes and everything like that, it was hard for students to be able to make it. So we actually combined all of the alliance events into 3 mandatory longer sessions. And again, we kept this all virtual. And now we are in our next summer, and we are kind of following the same model that we did in the summer of 2020, with some events being in person and but the majority being virtual. So what we learned throughout this process so far is that we really need a more structured approach. So we needed to implement this individual development plan where they are going to be thinking about these things at the very beginning. What am I trying to get out of this internship? Making sure that they have a mentor-intern agreement with their mentors. We implemented the use of this resource guide, which takes them step by step, lets them know what they should be doing each week, sets them up for success. We started having regular check-ins. We are continuing to build out the online resource hub, which has resources that are in the intern resource guide, but also some additional resources, access to job boards, skills tutorials, all those kinds of things. We also learned that we needed to be a little bit more flexible. So that's why we started offering the internships in the fall and the spring, because what we learned is that the full-time internship model does not work for everyone. And so having the ability to go part-time and be able to weave it into a student's work schedule and class schedule allowed for a lot more participation. We also decided to restructure this a little bit because we wanted to redistribute the funds a little bit differently to be able to provide some additional financial support for our interns. And then we also have learned a lot in terms of recruitment. So we've started doing Q&As, we've started doing more targeted recruitment, working directly with specific points of contact at the colleges that we're working with, and having them be able to reach out to people on a personal level versus sending a mass email to a bunch of students. Our next pillar, we are thinking about the guidance from a mentor, and this is where we kind of developed the Mentor Alliance, which runs in parallel to the Intern Alliance. So not only are the interns getting the tools that they need to be successful, we are also training the mentors to be able to provide that intentional support and guidance for the interns. So in the Mentor Alliance, we have mentor development workshops that are based on the Entering Mentoring curriculum, which again is Simmer from the University of Wisconsin. And this is designed to run in parallel to Entering Research, which is what the Intern Alliance curriculum is based off of. And this provides a framework for the mentors, helps them set goals and build relationships with their mentees. During these formal training workshops, we help the mentors work on active listening skills, how to build their interns' confidence, how to enhance their interns' skills, how to mentor interns that have backgrounds different from their own, and how to help the interns set and meet their goals for the internship. So in the spring, we had the entering mentoring curriculum as a three-part series. After part one of this series, COVID-19 crisis happened, so it moved to a virtual training. And then in the summer, we actually started having monthly Mentor Alliance meetings. And the reason for that is that after the three-part series was over, our mentors actually requested continued discussion. So the entering mentoring curriculum is very discussion-based. We did a lot of talking about mentorship, and people shared their experiences, and we did case studies, and people really found that to be super beneficial. And so they wanted that to continue on a regular basis. So then, in addition to our formal mentor development workshop, which is a formal training, we also started implementing these monthly meetings that were just pure discussion for the mentors to come together, bring whatever they wanted to discuss to the table, and just have an open forum to be able to discuss some of the challenges and successes that they were facing with their mentoring experiences. And then in the fall, we implemented some new Mote-wide mentoring protocols, which include regular meetings between the mentors and the interns during the internship. We had also implemented the mentor-intern agreement, where they actually work with the students to develop a sort of agreement of what is expected from the mentor, what is expected from the mentee, and really just setting those expectations and making sure they align. We also have implemented mentor briefings before the start of the internship, just to make sure that all of the mentors are on the same page and understand the expectations that we have from them. And then we have a debrief after the internship, where we talk to them about what worked and what didn't work, so we can use that to improve our future cohorts and our future internship experiences. And then, like I mentioned, we kind of moved from in-person to hybrid to virtual in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. But what we learned is that the virtual actually was really helpful. It made it more accessible for mentors to attend. It allowed our mentors and staff and faculty at our partner institutions to be able to attend. So we've actually moved to entirely virtual now with our Mentor Alliance. Also, as part of our Mentor Alliance, as part of that formal training that we provide, we also do an ally skills workshop. So for those of you that don't know, allyship is when you use the privilege that you have, privilege or power, in a situation to support or amplify people from marginalized communities. And this is something that we found to be really important, because we are working with underrepresented minority students. We want to make sure that our institution, which is a predominantly white institution, understands privilege and how they can act as an ally to support underrepresented minority students in this field. So during the Ally Skills Workshop, we talk about recognizing privilege, micro allyship, which are these small things that you can do in your day-to-day life to amplify and support the marginalized communities. Being an active bystander, so how to react to situations when they arise where there is discrimination, and making sure that they have the tools to be able to do that. And then also bias interrupting, so making sure that our mentors can recognize their own bias and be able to interrupt it within themselves, but also identify it and interrupt it when it is present in the field, so that they have the training to really support the interns that are coming through this program. So what we learned is that we needed to have very specific mentor protocols. So we initiated the mentor briefing and debrief, as I mentioned, the mentor-intern agreements, the mentor-intern check-ins, making sure that those were at scheduled times, that the mentors were aware, that they had reminders, Then, of course, we increased the accessibility by moving to a virtual model. We were really successful in creating mentor buy-in, getting mentors to see the importance of what we were doing to the point where they were actually requesting more, more protocols, more help, those mentor alliance meetings every month, things like that. And then ultimately, we're starting to see a change in the culture surrounding internships that's bleeding from the MarSci-LACE program to all of our other internship programs we offer here at Mote. And with that, I will turn it over to Allie to talk about some of the data that we've collected so far.
Thanks, Jasmine. Yeah, so a lot of what this grant is not only to improve the experiences of the students that we have, but it's also collecting data around all of these interventions and these resources that we're building. So a couple of the areas that we've been collecting data are through the interns and through the mentors. So for the interns, we do pre-internship surveys. We do surveys as they're leaving, so post-internship surveys. We also do exit interviews with the students. So we sit down with them and really talk about kind of their experience and have a conversation about, you know, what did they learn, what did they get out of it, all that kind of information. So a lot more in-depth information. With the mentors, we do surveys for all their mentor training workshops. We also do surveys with them after the students leave their internships at the end of kind of the season for interns. And we do group debriefs where the mentors all sort of get together and we have kind of a more informal conversation about how did things go, what were some of the challenges. That also informs things that we keep adding to our mentor training, as well as how we can sort of reshape the internship experience itself. So who are these interns? So originally we had put into the grant that we would have 20 interns of the summer of 2020. In reality, we did run our internship program, but we had, COVID there. So we got 18 interns over the entire 3 semesters of 2020. So we had in 2021. So we had 7 in the summer, we had 6 in the fall, and we had 5 in the spring. And that, we've sort of, not only did we realize that providing year-round experiences are important, but we also sort of figured out that having part-time experiences were also really important for these students, given the fact that they may not be able to sort of stop their whole life and do a full-time internship for 10 weeks over the summer. So providing the opportunity for part-time internships has been really important. And I think that was a really, really big lesson learned. So these are the students that we had. As we mentioned, they come from College of the Florida Keys and the State College of Florida as a structured in our first iteration of this grant. Most of them are pursuing associate's degree with the intent to transfer and pursue a bachelor's degree. And despite participating in a marine science internship, they're from a wide variety of majors, including astronomy, biology, marine resource management, and marine environmental technologies. So we've had students from a range of majors, not just sort of very focused marine biology. And really, what the one thing across all these students is that most of them have never participated in any kind of internship experience. And another thing that we found is that these students not only have never participated in an internship, but they also aren't fully aware of even what an internship is and the benefits of it. So a lot of what we've been doing in our recruitment is spending time explaining what an internship is and sort of why they should think about doing it, even if they're not going into marine science. So from this, sort of the reason why some students had decided to participate is that they want to sort of bring, these are some of the quotes from the students from the pre-internship survey, and they wanted to, think about how can they build strong foundations for research that they can then use when applying to graduate school? How can they apply what they're learning here into other science settings? And things like Jasmin mentioned, working and communicating with others, that was another thing that they wanted to understand and learn. And they were also, wanted to feel more comfortable in a science setting, specifically a marine science setting. So these were some of the reasons why they decided to do an internship that came through our survey. And at the end, from our post survey, 100% of the MarSci-LACE interns said they felt comfortable at Mote, said they felt accepted at Mote, they felt supported by their mentor, they had a positive experience overall, and 100% said that they would describe their experience as transformative. So we feel like this is a really good indication that these internships are really making an impact on them. So one of the areas that we're looking at is science identity. And science identity is described as the overlap between how a person views themselves and their image of a science person. And so this is important because science identity is an indicator for retention in STEM, strong science identity. So overall, students tend to have a low science identity, but it's even lower in underrepresented minority students. So for our interns, we described a science person as a person whose career and education relate to science fields. And we asked them to select one of these 7 Venn diagrams to describe their science identity. As you can see, the first image shows no overlap between a person's image of themselves and their image of a science person. And as we go through the images, there's more and more overlap until we reach the last one where most of the person's identity is that of a science person. We found that over the course of the fall internship, MarSci-LACE interns' overall science identity increased during the internship period. In the fall 2020, students said that their science identity was in these top 4 photos, or that they considered less than half of their personal identity to be that of a science person. And by the end of a 15-week internship, when asked the exact same question, these students said that their science identity have increased to these 2 images. You can see in these images that they consider more than half of their personal identity to be that of a science person. So these are encouraging results. We now know that not only are these students explicitly enjoying their experience in the MarSci-LACE program, but they're also building confidence to be scientists and are hopefully more likely then to remain in STEM fields. So some of the quotes that we received from the post-internship survey were that it was above and beyond their expectations, that they were doing a lot of hands-on learning during the lab, that it was one of the most transformative experiences they've ever encountered, and it really allowed them to really jumpstart their career in research, and that they sort of have a real idea of what science looks like, and they know that they want to continue in this field. So I want to just highlight one of our students that came through the program. So before the internship, she said that she didn't really think of science as a career. She decided to go into computer science because that seemed to be something more that was acceptable within her family. Before she started the internship, she was discouraged because she felt like she knew nothing about scientists, and that, she was around other people who had, worked in it before. So by the end of the summer, she got a handle on things, and she said, I got a grip on what's done in a phytoplankton ecology lab and a lab in general. So she was offered another internship in the fall of 2020. And she said that she was really proud of herself to be able to learn how to take care and grow cultures, do cell counts, use a spectrometer, and all the different things that she was doing in the lab. And then in January 21, after she finished her second internship, she was actually offered a staff position as a laboratory technician within that phytoplankton ecology lab. So it was a really great, and she's still on staff today. And actually this summer, she's spending it training new interns as they come in to the phytoplankton ecology lab. So overall, the MarSci-LACE program and the professional development workshops for the interns and the mentors have increased diversity in the intern applicant and acceptance pool. So this is just from the Mote side of things. This graph shows the percentage of underrepresented minority interns from all of our REU programs over the course of the past 4 summers at Mote. You'll see that NSF has placed their diversity target at 20%. However, Mote, we really hope to have at least 31% of our intern population, which is equal to the national percentage, be underrepresented minority students, if not more. In 2017 and 18, our numbers were pretty low. About 11% of the interns were underrepresented minorities. And in 2019, those numbers increased to about 18% and continued to increase to 24% with the introduction of the MarSci-LACE program. So we passed the NSF target. And then as we increase the seminars with mentors and members of our community, we're continually changing the culture around the internship and increasing underrepresented minority student involvement to help us meet our intern goal and to provide opportunities for these students. We have to add the 2021 data on here, but it's actually continued to increase, which is really exciting. So the other part that we've done that Jasmin mentioned was we've trained over 40 Mote staff in mentorship and ally skills. And when asked those that participated, they said that they would recommend the workshop to other staff and mentors at Mote. They specifically cite the discussions, the information, and the resources as keys to the successes of the workshop. And then on the left here is a word cloud that shows what the mentors are specifically saying about these workshops. They talk about the case studies, the situations, the hearing other mentors talk, having helpful examples, and open discussion about mentoring and allyship topics. So again, our mentors are enjoying the workshops, but are they becoming better mentors? One particular mentor said that they loved hearing real life examples, but they also wanted to know how other mentors with different size groups handled these situations. And that's where the monthly mentor meetings come in, the Alliance. These meetings, the mentors can share thoughts and resources about their mentoring experiences, and that mentors actually felt more confident after their workshops. These are from at the end of last summer. So of the 15 MarSci-LACE mentors, they met their personal mentorship goals over the course of the internship, which was really important. We really wanted to have them sort of lead this process for themselves. So, they wanted to really provide a positive working environment that helps the interns learn, but also, builds those other skills, the self-sufficiency, problem solving, and ability to work with others. They really wanted to build relationships with their mentees and actually produce really great data. They also wanted to provide an opportunity for their interns to learn and develop new skill sets at Mote beyond just their internship. So those were some of the goals that they had set for themselves within this mentorship program. So what's next? So we are working to really continue to do data collection and analysis with all the information that we're collecting. We're still working through validating some of the instruments that we're using and interview protocols. We host an annual MarSci-LACE conference with our partners to bring in, and then next year we will be bringing in more independent marine research labs to really help expand the reach of this program. And then the goal is ultimately to share our results internally and within the existing LSAMP networks as we keep growing out these programs and helping others, improve their internship programs for underrepresented minority students. So this is a screenshot of our website. If you have any questions, you can contact us at marcilace.org. And there's other resources and information about the project here.